Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining this networking session, this Q&A session on European Digital Innovation Hubs for Public Administrations and Smart Cities. Can I please ask everyone to just mute yourselves if you're not talking? Perhaps it's also a good idea to take a camera to share some. So welcome here to this networking session. I'll just wait 2 minutes to allow everybody to enter the room, and we will start very shortly. Some of you may have participated earlier this afternoon in the main session on European Digital Innovation Hubs for the public sector. And for those of you who were there, you will know that it was registered and that the presentation was already uploaded onto the platform. I also kindly ask our speakers to eventually also upload their presentations onto the platform once they have finished presenting. So you will find all that here. And we're soon starting. Let me just quickly have a look if we are all coming together. All right, so I can see participants coming in. Just to let you know, you can use the Q&A function to ask your questions. And in the participant section, you will be able to see everybody who's joined. So there's quite a lot. Thank you all for your interest. I propose that we do start. So thank you very much for joining this afternoon. My name is Andrea Halmos, and on behalf of quite a number of units at the European Commission, I welcome you all to this networking session, a Q&A session on European Digital Innovation Hubs for public administrations and smart cities. It's a session, a networking session that builds on an earlier session this afternoon. As I said, the presentation of which is already available on the platform. And it's building on a session that was built around everything that relates to e-government, digital government, everything that relates to smart cities and communities, as well as to interoperability and all the so-called CEF Digital Service Infrastructure building blocks, and managed by different units across the Commission: DG Connect, e-government, DG Connect, Technologies for Smart Communities, and DG Digit, 2 units working on interoperability and CEF building blocks. So let me start by putting this networking session in context. Once again, it's about European Digital Innovation Hubs for public administrations and smart cities. And those who signed up for this session and the session earlier today were asked specific questions on what is your interest, what are your questions related to this topic. So what I would like to do today is just introduce what you're going to hear about today, then focus in on capacity building for the public sector and what really digital innovation hubs can do, because most of your questions were focusing on this aspect. And then, of course, we leave some time for questions and answers. So once again, Andrea Halmos, but I'm just here with several other colleagues. If you have questions, of course, you can send them to me or to us, and I'll find the right person to answer. What we have heard from you through your register that you were very much interested in issues related to interoperability. So some of you were asking, so how could I help interoperability for the public sector organizations that I'm planning to work with? How could I reuse some of the CEF building blocks? So you will hear about this in just a moment. Many of you had questions specifically on innovation procurement, on innovative procurement processes, but also procuring innovative solutions. So we're really pleased to have also a very clear and interesting presentation on this later today. You were also interested in particularly in smart cities, so that's really great to hear. And we will have presentations on catalogs of services and dedicated academy for helping smart cities, for helping the digital transformation of cities and communities. And several of you were interested in how to help the public sector adopt AI and other emerging technologies. So we'll also have a presentation on that through the so-called AI Watch study. Of course, we will not be able to cover everything here, and we won't have time to answer all the questions, but we're happy to let you know that there is a dedicated community on the dnet.eu community platform that most of you are familiar with. Perhaps you're already a member of that community, but please do come there and send us further questions or continue discussing one or the other topics there. There is a dedicated little group for DIH for the public sector. So indeed, we did hear about capacity building. And what we have managed to pull together is really a great list of extremely interesting presentation. So I'd like to introduce you all our presenters at once, and then we'll ask them to share their presentations with us. We have Danilo Bianchini here from PricewaterhouseCoopers, who was part of a study team that DG Connect carried out on innovation procurement. And this is something that many of you were interested in. So we'll be very interested to hear from Danilo some of the findings of the study that could be relevant for the public sector and essentially for digital innovation hubs. We then have Georges Lobo, colleague of mine from DG Digit, working in the ISA Square Interoperability Unit, who will introduce you to an existing Interoperability Academy. Believe it or not, it's full of very useful, reusable online training material that you could also tap into. We then have Martin Brinskop from the Open and Agile Smart Cities and Communities, who will walk you through the brand new and fresh from the print, so to speak, City by City Academy and City by City Catalog of Services, which I hope will also provide you with some very useful, reusable material. Maxine Lam from DG Digit will tell us more about those digital service infrastructures, building blocks, and the support services that the Commission can offer in helping to implement those. And last but not least, Colin van Noort from Taltech and my colleague from the Joint Research Center in Italy, Peter Ulrich, will present the findings of the AI Watch study. You may have heard of it. It's a huge endeavor from the Commission to better understand the take-up of AI across the economy. And one element of it is focusing on AI adoption by the public sector in the EU. So we're very happy to have the speakers with us. And I would now like to have, of course, the Q&A session later on. So perhaps, did I also share or not share? Let me just go back one more time to tell you all the speakers. I had the impression not everything was shared. It's shared. Okay, good. I will then share Danilo procurement. Danilo, the floor is yours.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Andreas, for this introduction. Should I also share my screen?
Yes, please.
Presentation. Okay. So, can you see the presentation? Okay,
yes.
Brilliant. So in this very short presentation, I will try to answer a specific question, which is how European digital innovation hubs can help public administration to reap the benefits of innovation procurement. So please let me start from a definition of innovation procurement. So public procurement is what the public sector is the way the public sector usually buys supply goods and services. In the last few years, new, let's say, tools and alternatives to make the public sector to buy innovative tools and services were introduced by the European Commission. Many of you might already know, like pre-commercial procurement or public procurement of innovative solutions. Since 2017, we have started as PwC a project to get on behalf of the European Commission and DG Connect in particular to start developing a methodology which aimed at assessing and benchmarking the amount of innovation procurement that was done in different countries. This project, you can see that in the second part of this slide, was benchmarked in 30 different countries, EU27, Norway, Switzerland, and the UK. And it looked both at innovation procurement policy frameworks and at investments in these 30 countries. One of the main results, I cannot provide you all the findings of the study in this short presentation, but one of the main results that we ended up finding was that the more comprehensive an innovation procurement policy framework was, the more innovation procurement occurred in the country. And this can be seen in the ranking on the left side of this slide, where you can see the policy framework. In general, what is the main message here? That innovation procurement policy frameworks are still immature across Europe, and we just work at 26.6% of their potential speed. So this innovation procurement policy framework was developed through what was calculated through a number of multidimensional indicators, which you can see on the right part of this slide. And here you can see that one of the multidimensional indicators used to map the policy frameworks across countries was the capacity building. Now here we can see that capacity building in the field of innovation procurement still has significant room for improvement. And this is the area where digital innovation hubs and European digital innovation hubs could really make start cooperating and working. But how? So here we can see that one of the sub-indicators included in this capacity building multi-dimensional indicator is the one-stop shop, and in particular competence center. This competence center bring together all the tools, instruments, and financial but also practical advices that public procurers can use to implement innovation procurement, an innovation procurement procedure. So on the one hand, and these are more and more developed across countries. Already 5 one-stop shops are there, competence center. More are being developed through a number of projects with the European Commission. And here it could be interesting for digital innovation hubs to start cooperating with them to make and introduce practical ways to introduce innovative solutions into public tenders. For instance, for tender specification, how can artificial intelligence, ethical artificial intelligence introduced in this type of tenders and so on. So this is a way that how digital innovation hubs could help introducing this. Another role could be linked to the innovation procurement process. What does it mean? That public procurers, when they implement an innovation procurement procedure, they have to go through a number of steps. Now, these steps are not that easy, and they are quite complex. And during these steps, public European digital innovation hubs could help both public authorities and startups. How? First of all, by providing ad hoc training, but also acting, for instance, as a test site for innovation procurement for procurers that do not have a place to test and they don't have an environment, so at step 5. But also, for instance, in step 2, when you start to assess and mapping the solutions available in the market, here public procurers might look in the market and to see if there are any additional what are the solutions available and technologies available to make to achieve a certain goal. Here the digital innovation hub could help promoting and like sharing, disseminating these procurements to make sure that that these public authorities are able to reach the right audience. At the same time, digital innovation hubs could help training and supporting activities for startups and SMEs to apply for procurement. We know that SMEs and startups are very good at providing very innovative solution and technical solution. However, sometimes they have very little knowledge on how to write a public how to answer how to write a proposal for public tender, for answering a public tender. this type of help support could be very useful for digital innovation hubs. At the same time, another very important aspect that could be of interest for digital innovation hubs would not be only to provide training and practical supporting activities, but also building cooperation and creation of networks. What do I mean with that? If there is, for instance, a public procurer that has a need of a specific technology or wants to know more of a specific technology during the market consultations, for instance, digital innovation hubs could help disseminating this across the whole Europe, so not only in their local place, but across Europe, so become and make sure that the best companies are able to help or to this public procurer gets into contact with the people that are the most suitable to this specific needs that they have. It depends if whether it is a technology or something else. So to sum up, to come to the end of this very short presentation, what could be the role? On the one hand, cooperation with national competence center by providing capacity building measures, dissemination of good practices. These are very important at this stage, and there is a lot of room for improvement, as we have also seen in our study. Cooperation with public authorities. This could be training activities, but also supporting public authorities during the process by disseminating and promoting tenders, or by bringing together or by helping them to test in the DIH environments a specific technology, and support for startups and SMEs, which will be linked on the one hand on training activities and practical support, but also on making sure that they are on the identification of relevant opportunities in the public sector across Europe. I also include here a very short a slide providing the most relevant projects and initiatives that are currently in place on innovation procurement. So thank you very much for the.
Thank you, Danilo. It was very, very helpful. And also thank you for the links. I wanted to ask you to share those. Very helpful. As I said, most of the questions were related to public procurement and innovation procurement. So I think it's a very good start. Can you please make sure to upload your presentation? I think many people were interested to see them immediately. I want George Lobo to tell us a little bit about this Interoperability Academy.
Unmute myself first, and I will share my screen. Now I'm selecting the application, and where is it? Why is it not here? Okay. No. Sorry, I will share the entire screen. So, okay. Yeah, now it's share. Okay. Can you see it? Can you tell me? Because I see the presentation, I don't see the screen.
Perfect.
Can you see the
yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Here I will talk about the actions. So it's as you may have heard about the ISS program, and this is I would say the last baby from this program. It was the last action that was created, and it's called the Interoperability Academy. It took the name of the program, and it's about to help to advance digital skills for the public sector. So here, I mean, it's about interoperability. You all know what it is. I don't need to remind you. The starting point of this was the European Interoperability Framework that there was a request to help the implementation of the so-called DIF. We needed to have to propose a learning and e-learning. So this is one of the reasons why we start this. And this is the interoperability program. So as you know, we have this a set of studies. We have this approach to interoperability. We assess the different layers, but we have also direct solutions, software solutions, and open source or data specification. And the idea is to help cross-border and facilitate the reuse of interoperability solution. This is just a glimpse of what we offer. So this is one of the part of the solution. So the Academy, as I said, it was created in 2019. And the objective was, to provide, of course, advanced training skill to civil servants, but we wanted as well, there was request from people that we have produced over the years a lot of learning material, and there was no central place. It was scattered a bit all around. So we decided to centralize, to categorize, catalog everything that we did that have a learning objective that could help the people to adopt the solutions that were developed during the program, and as well to take the benefit on that of creating new learning material, and to offer a platform that people could have access, that could follow, stop, resume. So all the features that you can have on a learning management system, and as well to have this thing that is quite important. And we have noticed that people request it sort of a certificate of completion, or say some credential when you succeed a test or I would say a training. So here just some numbers. As I said, this was started in 2019. So we have a number of initiatives. Of course, we are working together with a number of initiatives. So far, we have 16, but we have seen that also with COVID crisis, there was much more that are popping up. We have also a community, so we have a sort of mailing. So it's about 100 stakeholders that are working in digital skills for public sector. This is online. It's on the collection I will tell you about on JoinUp. We offer on the platform. So the platform went live, and I will talk about it. It's on this winter, beginning of winter, and we already have 3 courses proposed, but there are much more that will come. We organize also webinars mostly with this this digital academy or this public sector academy that are around, either at national level, but also sometimes at regional level. And if there are also initiatives that are local, we are welcoming them. We organized as well end of last year, first winter school with KU Leuven. We have also the help of 10 experts. I will tell some of the works we are doing with them. On the EIF course, so that the first that we produce, we already have made us 53 certificates. We have also partners to test what we are doing. And as I say, we already did the census of the learning material we have produced in ISA Square, and there is about 250 materials that could be used. We are also assessing them from their pertinence, the quality, and we will bring them to the platform by improving them, because it's not just by putting a video or a PowerPoint that can make them a learning material that can have some pedagogical value, is what we want to. So what is available now? So as I say, on the JoinUp, we have the catalog. So it's a list of the more than 250 resources. So we have the ISA Square solution, but as well, we put there the CEF building blocks, so the links. So it's not that we have there the trainings, but we have the links to the material. So if you're interested now, you can go there and follow and find everything what you're interested in. We also have this collection on the digital skill in the public sector, where it's more a community where people can exchange their experience. I will do, because there are some animations here. So here is the collection. We are also partnering with different initiatives, either at national but also internal, the Connect University, for example. And we have also a framework, skills and competency framework for the public sector, that will be published in March. It's finalized, and we use a number of academic experts to help us on that. And there is a lot of number of documents that we produce that are made available. Here is, for example, the competence framework. You can see, part of a presentation, but this needs to be, validated and published. And what is coming next? So the idea is that we use the corporate platform. The Commission has since autumn a new corporate platform called the EU Academy. So the access is using the EU login that is used by all of you when you access, you register to something in the Commission. You can subscribe. So all of course are for free, of course. So everything related to interoperability, and the course is that where it's appropriate, there will be a certificate of completion or even an exam like. We have, for example, PM Square that is coming. It's planned to have this type of certificate that you have the PM Square certification in the future. And we have also the idea to integrate if there are other courses that are coming from external that could be that have a value. We have also welcoming to integrate them, and there can be also third-party courses that are managed on the platform. And the last but not least is that everything we do, we're using SCORM. For those who are familiar, it's an open standard for learning management system. And the package, so it's package that we deploy on the platform. So on the platform, you use them, you use the course. But if you, in case there is, you have yourself a platform and you want to deploy the courses on your own platform, the package itself with all the sources and with all the images and the text, etc., is downloadable via JoinUp. We will offer this. It's free of charge because it's using the Creative Commons licensing. So it can be modified. And just an example, the European Interoperability Framework course, there is already Poland who is interested to deploy on their own platform and also to do the translation, which will be very useful to do the translation in Polish. So this is a page of the collection of the digital skills in the public sector. Here you see what you can do. So you can share your expertise, you can stay up to date, you can comment as well. And here are the three courses that are now available. So we have the European Interoperability Framework. This is e-learning. So it's with animation, and you have quizzes for 4 modules. And at the end, we have the final quiz. If you have you're above 60%, you get a certificate saying that you managed to follow and you succeed in following this course. The other one is access to base registries. And there is one, so this is just a recorded webinar, and one on data visualization. This is a series of 3 webinars that are augmented with quizzes that allows you to test your knowledge after each part of the webinar. We have much more. I mean, we already, I guess, in the pipeline, we will have, I guess, in the coming month, we already have about 20 courses that are coming, all related to interoperability, to solutions. And of course, we will produce, and the idea is also to categorize these courses. There will be sort of tags, and we will classify them, and also to have a tags when it's pertinent, relevant for and communities. We will allow for events who are search to offer the course that are particularly relevant for you through this in a ergonomic way. So this is the roadmap. As I say, I mean, this is how we started. And now what we want is to start building as the offer will increase the curriculum. We will continue. There will be several courses every month that will be offered. We will publish normally soon a calendar, but it does not stop us if there is, even if you have an event that you would like you organize with, for example, the unit of Andrea, that you're welcome to, that we help you to prepare it and provide it through the platform. And we will continue, of course, the promotion on JoinUp. So we are welcoming any participation, any collaboration, and of course, I guess also collaboration with the next presentation. I've been already on the platform, so I think it's a perfect transition for you, Martin.
Exactly. Thank you so much, George. It's a huge wealth of information, and I think many of you will have seen that in the chat. You now see also the link immediately, as well as the email address to contact my colleagues around the Interoperability Academy. So thanks a lot. And indeed, a great transition to specifically focusing on smart cities and communities. So Martin Brinskov from the OASC, can you please then take the floor? Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the invitation. Also, thank you, George, for the transition. I hope you can see my slide. So yes, my name is Martin Brunskov, and I represent a lot of cities in Europe and actually also outside who are really keen on understanding how you could say the smart cities and communities market can work. It's difficult. We have, and sorry for the very busy slide here, but just to make it simple, on one hand, we have some technologies, some means, and we would like to reach our goals as local communities, as countries, as cities, and in between sits the market. Of course, there's the demand side, which is to a very large extent, I'll come back to that, the local authorities who buy things. But sometimes they are at the same time regulators, or they have to understand what is it possible to regulate, what is lawful procurement, for instance. We heard some very nice things about innovation procurement. So just to say, this is a quite, in a way, simple task, but an incredibly challenging landscape. So I think the EDIs are really there to ensure that this works well and to the benefit for both citizens and communities and so on the local level. Just to make sure, and this is another busy slide, just to prove in numbers that subnational governments or local governments are really a strong buying arm. So this shows how much of the national GDP, so the economy, is actually controlled by the local buying power. And just in short, it's massive. So around a quarter of the entire economy in Europe. Now, what's happening is that on the local level, on the national level, everybody's, of course, trying to figure this out. So what we're seeing now after, I would say, a decade of quite focused work, we see a lot of guides and guidance. And that can be a little bit confusing because what do you do? Of course, as a municipality, you look up to national government, sometimes regional governments. What do you do as national government? I mean, you cannot just figure things out or come up with things. So, of course, there is a need not just for top-down guidance, but also for putting the learnings together. And here I would like to highlight the livingin.eu initiative, which actually incorporates what Georges just presented on the interoperability, but also quite broad how we can get more mature and build capacity, not just on the technical side, but also on the legal side. And importantly, we measure the impact, hopefully positively, of increased digitalization. So some important questions we picked up here before, and thank you, Andrea, for providing this. And this is from the sign-ups here for this session. Maybe we can dive in, and this is my second to last slide. I will say a little more practical thing after this. It's a very good question how we can actually leverage the public procurement, the massive muscle from the local buying. And of course, we need to provide information, training and events, and the academy like George showed. And we also need to understand how can we actually mobilize this muscle. Of course, there's joint procurement where lots of stakeholders go together and buy sort of as a big group, but more powerful probably is common procurement where you buy independently, but you have common requirements to the market. We come back to that. And so how do you accommodate the existing procurement laws? I think this has already been covered by the colleague from earlier. So there are quite good instruments for this, but I would add the use of standards is really the normal way to be fair and to ensure that there is a level playing field for many providers, including smaller and local providers. And this is also the same how we, as we get these EDIs up and running, how we actually can do matchmaking and bring buyers and suppliers together without favoriting certain providers, because if we have some common ways of specifying what all systems actually need to live up to, well, then it's up to the normal market conditions and laws to govern that. And then finally, how do we ensure that there's a fair balancing of prices so that SMEs are not asked to pay more than public sector or vice versa? How do we ensure that there's choice in the market? And here again, the point of catalogs is really, really important. So we need to be able to see, just as when we buy a pizza or we, buy services for our houses or others, there has to be transparent catalogs of services, which are then also showing what are the common standards that they're living up to. And this is my final slide. We can, of course, discuss more of the details, but such academies, such catalogs are already appearing. This is the one which is operated by the network that I represent, Open Agile Smart Cities and Communities, but it's very much federating efforts such as the Intelligent Cities Challenge operated by the European Commission, such as the livingin.eu efforts to actually show what's happening on the ground. So the catalogs are coming. You can see as an example here, the link. The academies are shaping. So there's also very parallel to what George showed, already now learning materials out there. And of course, we should, with the EDIHs, increase the amount of such nicely packaged material. And then obviously, and this is the final point, we need to get together as communities, as EDIHs, and as societies to learn. And here's just as an example, we have the C by C festival, which occurs once a year. And I think actually the EDIHs will be fundamental in building capacity, but just as importantly, avoiding that everybody needs to reinvent the wheel. So I think what we are seeing is now that we have quite a high baseline actually of knowledge, which is already. So very happy to engage in the conversation here and ensure that we leverage that existing very high baseline in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Martin. It was an extremely well structured presentation also in the sense of what you were all interested in. So thank you ever so much for addressing that from the point of view of your interest. And indeed, standards, catalogs, standard-based solutions, and the Academy would be extremely useful for any of those who would like to help the digital transformation of cities and communities. So thanks so much for that and for the links as well. Please feel free to upload your slides as well. So all are, I think you've done it. So the speakers would leave their slides here before we leave the session so the audience can download them. I would now like to ask Maxine Lem from DG Digit to give us a little bit of background to how those digital service infrastructures that we had heard about this afternoon at 2:00 can actually be supported. Their implementation can be supported by Commission services. So Maxine, if you can give us a bit of an overview on that. Thank you.
Hello, can everyone hear me and see my screen? I'm just going to go full screen now. All right, I'll keep it very short. Hopefully there will be time for some questions. So what I'm going to do is just give you a practical overview of everything that we make available in terms of support in order to help people basically start implementing the reusable solutions that are distributed by the Connecting Europe facility, which I represent today. So just a little reminder, if you weren't in the previous session, the European Commission is really trying to make the digital single market a reality. And in order to do that, they make available interoperable digital solutions that are based on open standards and regulation compliant technical specifications in order to create interoperable systems across the European Union, whether they be interoperable public systems or private systems. So let's say private sector companies or digital platforms of governments. Here is an overview of all of the solutions that fall within the Connecting Europe Facility portfolio. They range from data management solutions like the ones on the top left to solutions on the bottom row and bottom left, which are related to trust and certification and security of transfer of information. So moving on, I'm going to skip this, but just to give you an idea of what we mean by interoperability, we mean that if digital platforms across Europe use interoperable solutions as opposed to their own custom specifications, it's like the previous speaker mentioned, you can create ecosystems, you can foster collaboration between those systems because they are interoperable, they function across, their systems can communicate together, and so you get potential for collaboration. So, trying to move on. Okay, so a couple concrete examples of what our solutions do, because that always helps imagine what they're for. So for example, the CEF EID, based on the EDIHs regulation, has improved the collection of traffic penalties in France and the Netherlands. I know no one likes to hear that, but for some people that is good news. E-translation is a machine translation, automated translation tool, is also one of our building blocks, and it has removed some barriers to instant translation, and that enables also to use AI and machine learning on the text. E-invoicing, which is related to the e-invoicing directive, which standardizes the way in which electronic invoices, and also in the context of procurement, are distributed and processed, has made the healthcare system save some money and time. And finally, related to data and connecting to our previous presentation, the context broker and the big data test infrastructure allow for the gathering of context information and Internet of Things data and smart sensor data in a way that allows cities to become truly smart. So, how can CEF help you? Well, we don't put these solutions out there. We provide support to implementation. This is where you as digital innovation hubs have a role to play. So you have mentioned in the previous presentation that you might not have been able to attend. There are several options in order to start implementing a building. There is the option to buy a complete solution from the market that just makes a reference to the specifications and standards that we publish, or you can build your own solution from scratch based on our standards, and then we have a series of services that help you test compliance and conformance, and we even have an end-to-end onboarding service, which I'll talk to you about later. But you can also reuse some sample software. Some of our building blocks have sample software available. We have teams available to help you with all of this, but the most important thing that you need to know is that if you want to reuse a building block, you should just go to our website. I have put a link in the deck. I will also disseminate it in the download tab. But on our website, you find everything. You find pages that describe each and every single building block or solution in detail, and you can just access them through a menu, through a homepage. On these pages, you have a basic layer of information regarding the building block, who it's for, how it works, and how it can be implemented. And if you're too lazy, you can just click contact our team, and you will be assisted through our service desk, which anyone can access. Some parts of the service desk are restricted to EU login users, but anyone can create an account. And even without one, we have generic contact forms available. So that is the short way. However, as a digital innovation hub, you might be interested in making some information available to people. So where can you find that? Again, on our website. We have detailed technical documentation for each building block on our website, and you can see an example here for e-delivery that I've given you, but I invite you to look around. And this documentation is there to assist developers in their implementation journey. And you can find different types of supporting services on top of the documentation that we offer. So we can offer specifications, of course, for people who want to build from scratch, but also sample software. But beyond that, if you're building, then we can offer you conformance testing services, sandbox environments to test your solutions in a place that isn't going to maybe cause a risk for you, and end-to-end support via our service desk. We have technical teams that help people in their implementation journey. We also provide a lot of educational and information material. So we regularly run thematic and technical webinars. They're free of charge. They're advertised on our website and on social media, and they are always recorded and made available on our social media channels. On this, if you want to participate in the webinar, again, anyone can participate. If you want to promote them, anyone can promote them. All the information is public. If you feel like you want to speak about a specific implementation or something, we're also very interested in hearing from you. So there will be contact information on the last slide. If you're looking for any of the educational information that we make available, I invite you to check our YouTube channel and our Twitter stream, where we publish all of the webinars. Yes, but not only. We regularly produce educational content. So these are all starting points for you if you're looking to help people start reusing our interoperable solutions. All of the information's there. But you may need something a bit more custom. Maybe your audience has specific needs, and in that case, we're more than willing to facilitate them. So you can contact us and put the information here. You can always contact us via the website. It will always come to the inbox that is linked to that I see here, that you see here. But you can also contact us on social media, of course, and I've left all the links there. So I will stop sharing now, and I will give the floor away. And I hope, there's almost no time left. So there we are.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Maxine. And I think it's a huge, again, wealth of available assets and tools and really service that is provided actually through commission services. So please feel free to take up the offer. And now I would like to ask Colin van Noord and Peter Ulrich to give us a presentation about the take-up and the learnings of the study of the AI Watch, the take-up of artificial intelligence by the public sector, which I think will also be very interesting to many digital innovation hubs. I know many of you are focusing on the use of AI. So let's hear from you, Colin and Peter. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Andrea. Hello, everybody. My name is Peter Ulrich. I work at the Joint Research Center of the European Commission on a project called Innovative Public Services, dealing with the uptake of emerging technologies in public services. However, the input you're getting today is from a different project that we're working on, which is called AI Watch, which the JRC is doing together with DG Connect. And I'm very happy to have with me here today Colin van Noord, which is a researcher in the field, an external expert that we very much enjoy working with together in this project, AI Watch, and who's one of the co-authors of this flagship publication that Andrea already mentioned. Colin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Peter, and also welcome to everyone who's still here after already such a long day. So I will go very quickly during this presentation some of the key findings that we found in our current research on AI within government and within other public administrations, and some takeaways. I think they are quite repetitive now from all the other great presentation and insights that I've heard today at the conference, but I think it's still very relevant. Some points for these for digital innovation hubs to think about with regards to assisting the adoption of AI in government. So why are we so much interested? Is because AI has a lot of different potential for improving government services, policy making, and internal management practices. There's a lot of variety of different ways AI can be used, and we have already seen all these different technologies being combined with existing services, new ways of working, and think of using various data sources to detect new political issues or to automate annoying, mundane processes that create a lot of time for internal staff to focus on more important issues. But also think of, since we were just listening to procurement, innovative procurement, AI has also been deployed within procurement processes of the government to help startups or others understand procurement and to help them streamline this process. So there's a lot of different links. But what we also identify, and also that is what a lot of the academic literature is also focusing on, is that this is not easy. it's not very straightforward to use these new innovative technologies in government services because of a variety of different challenges. We won't have time to go over all of them, but think of them in very different areas, which are not only the technological barriers, right? So on the one hand, you do have the data challenges to develop and use AI, but also there's a lot of different laws, regulation that hinder the development process, that hinder the deployment of these technologies, but also very social factors such as political factors, organizational resistance, or societal resistance. There's certain AI that is not seen as good and others that's seen as better, and especially public administrations need to be very careful in understanding the whole context of using these new technologies. And also what is perhaps then more linked to the use to the digital innovation hubs is that we do see a lot of successful pilots and a lot of very insightful and interesting initiatives pop up everywhere. But it is still usually quite disconnected from the normal operations of government. And that is problematic, which I will explain also later. But it's still disconnected. It's a separate thing. And it needs to be moving towards integration, right? So from the study, very quickly, this is first of all definitely not representative of the whole of the EU. This is a first overview of some of the initiatives that we have identified across the European member states and the UK, Norway, and Switzerland. 230 cases, some countries clearly more represented than others, but it does give us a little glimpse in what is possible and what is currently being worked on. So some of the key findings from this study, and it's still ongoing, we're still working on improving this, the data and the quality, of course, is that many of these initiatives within the government focus more on general public services, health, or economic affairs. And we identified most of them on national administrative level. Clearly, this is underrepresented from what is really happening, because also what was just mentioned today, there's a lot of exciting initiatives happening on local levels that we just haven't gotten to systematically gather yet. And then we see a lot of different chatbots, systems that have some kind of predictive analytics, computer vision, and also expert rules-based systems in variety different of usages, such as support or helping the enforcement, internal management, or helping policy makers with gaining insights that they can use for policy making. So some of these open issues that we perhaps during the Q&A can go back to is that in general, we do see that AI for the government is not always a priority. We see that the public sector has often a facilitating role or regulatory role, but they are very good users of these technologies too. So we should also look into how can we help administrations with using these technologies internally. And that requires a lot of sharing and enabling of different capabilities that are needed with the whole ecosystem. So the innovation hubs are a perfect come together point to get the funding, get the know-how, learn the culture, the technology, the data, and to identify different barriers that can be overcome as a whole together. I think that's a very important point for the innovation hubs to take away. We also should realize that the data analysis and the product development is not the goal of innovation. We need to make sure that these solutions are used and used sustainable in a long term. We need to generate public value from AI, and we need to show the public and that it has a good visible effect. Citizen participation and ensuring this transparency during the development, the design and deployment of AI is therefore also critical to also ensure that we do this in an ethical and human-centric way. And like I mentioned before, we need to be careful of the ever pilot of AI projects. We need to make sure that what works well gets integrated and doesn't run the risk of being too separate from the normal practice. But also we need to share these good results across the whole of the EU and scale up and share these good practices. So it's not just one administration that has this good solution, but all of the member states can use it. So thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward to the Q&A if we still have some time.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Colin and Peter. I'm really happy that we could also cover the AI topic, because it's something that I'm pretty sure many digital innovation hubs are looking into, and how they could offer AI-enabled solutions to public sector organizations, and what are the kind of particularities. I know we have run quite late, so unless we can perhaps take just 5 minutes for questions and answers. Otherwise, just to remind everybody, the slides will be uploaded in the platform. You have also seen in the chat several ways to contact us, some of our colleagues and some of those who have presented today. And we can always, come back to you and further continue the discussion also on this DNet community platform that I will also again share here, where there's already a group of digital innovation hubs serving the public sector. So we are more than happy to continue the discussion there. I think the only way how you can ask questions is by putting it into the chat. So we will wait here until 6 o'clock in case there are questions coming in. Please feel free to show them now. Anyone to come forward?
And Andrea, this is Martin, if you allow.
Yeah.
And I think that's a quite nice question at the top, which I think many are wondering. So is this to facilitate access to public sector for SMEs, or is for the digitalization of public sector? I think that's a very central point to at least just have some reflections on.
Excellent. Thank you for picking that up. Indeed. I would think it's both, but let me ask you, Martin, since you picked it up, you have already reflected upon this.
Well, it's easy for me. As you said, it's both. So I don't think that these are binary conflicting aims. Of course, we want both. We want to build digital capacity, both so that we can reap the benefits locally, and actually also so we can avoid some of the sometimes negative consequences of digitalization. But at the same time, we don't want to suck out the economy from the local level, and certainly not from the SMEs. So it's very much both. And I would say it's the triple baseline we have to observe always. And here I see the social dimension, you can say, the public sector, the economic dimension, okay, so both being efficient and catering for local SMEs. But I would say also, if we want to address the climate situation, we have to balance so I would add the main concerns.
Thank you. Absolutely. Indeed, you as digital innovation hubs that are very much embedded in the local or regional ecosystems, it's an excellent way to foster the local economy, but also bring that innovation into the public sector so that the public sector itself can go through its digital transformation and essentially offer more user-friendly services to, back again, the economy and the citizens. Anyone else would like to reflect upon this, or any other comments or questions that you may wish to put forward now? I think digital innovation hubs also have the role to actually bring the communities together, to really be at the heart of this very complex ecosystem at the end of the day. For example, in the case of smart cities, it's certainly private citizen and civil society essentially could also be part of, providing some solutions. So I think you really see your role in many different aspects. I think we're coming close to an end, so perhaps I would like to once again thank you everybody for with us for a long networking session. Once again, anyone who is interested in digital innovation hubs serving public sector organizations, public administrations, and smart cities will find the slide from the main session or uploaded onto the platform. From this networking session, you will be able to find the presentations very shortly, again, from the platform. And please note that we also have 4 different booths, which you can still visit. One dedicated to interoperability, one dedicated to digital service infrastructure building blocks, one dedicated to the e-translation building block, and one dedicated to smart cities and communities. So feel free to stay in touch either on the DNet community platform or directly contacting us. Thank you so much for the presenters, and thank you for our audience. Bye-bye.